Good morning. We're going to talk today about Act 2, Scene 1 of Julius Caesar. And I want to go over a couple of things before we get going. If you have not already pulled up the No Fear Shakespeare link, you can find that here. It'll take you to this page. You'll just find, say, No Fear Translation. You'll go down to Act 2, Scene 1. And then I would also recommend that you open up this YouTube link. This is, when it starts at the beginning of Act 2, Scene 1. And then if you listen until 1736, that's where Scene 1 ends. I want to talk about what's happening in Scene 1. This is a longer scene. So Act 1 was kind of like introducing us to the characters and introducing us to the conspiracy going on. And then Act 2, Scene 1 is going to get into like how are they actually going to do it and who is actually going to be involved. So it opens at Brutus's house. He's calling for his servant Lucius. He's trying to figure out what day of the month it is. We'll also find out that it is March 15th. This was the day that the soothsayer warned Caesar about at the beginning of Act 1, or Act 1, Scene 2. And so Brutus finds the letters that Cassius has planted. And then the conspirators arrive at Brutus's house, and they're going to plan how they want to kill Caesar. One of the things to notice in this scene, it's really important, is that Brutus takes charge of the conspiracy. So far, the conspiracy has been Cassius's idea, but in this scene, we'll see how Cassius will come up with some ideas, and then Brutus will kind of shoot those down. He does that 3 times, kind of showing that he wants to be in control. Whether or not we can argue this is like a thirst for power from Brutus, but it's more like maybe he just has better ideas. We're not really sure at this point, but he definitely takes charge. So then after the conspirators leave, we're still in Scene 1. Portia is Brutus's wife, and she joins him outside, and she can tell that something has been going on with Brutus. She knows that he is not completely 100% okay. And she asks him what's going on, and he tells her he's not well. And she says, well, if you're not well, then you would do something about it. And she basically tells him, if you're not going to tell me what's troubling me, then I'm no better to you than a harlot, which is a prostitute. So she's saying, if you're not going to tell me, if you're not going to trust me, then I am basically just here to like cook your meals and sleep in your bed with you, which is not, that he should be able to trust her as his wife. And so then before he tells her to go back inside, he tells her that he will tell her what's going on. At the end of the scene, Caius Ligarius comes to Brutus's house. They're going to add him to the conspiracy, and Brutus is going to fill him in on what is going on. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to go back through Act 2, Scene 1 and point out a couple of important things with you really quick. This is where we start, and Brutus is in his courtyard. He's asking for Lucius, his servant, to bring a candle out. And he starts to think about Caesar. He starts to think about, what are we going to do about Caesar? And he says, the only way I know, this is the modern translation, the only way is to kill Caesar. He says, I don't know, I don't have any personal reason to strike at him, but I also don't know how him being in power would change him. He's afraid that if Caesar had the crown, then the power would just kind of go to his head and he wouldn't be able to control it very well. And so then he talks about how he's also worried, like if Caesar is trying to climb this ladder of ambition, this ladder of power, that if he got to the top, he would look back down on the people who helped him get there and not really remember them. He would just kind of forget about them. And so that's one of the other reasons that Brutus is like, it's kind of like he's a serpent in the egg. Like that Caesar is like this baby snake that's not born yet. And if he was to be born, if he was to be crowned king, they don't know how he, like, what he would do is this poisonous snake. So that's why he says, which hatch would as his kind grow mischievous and kill him in the shell. So they're saying they have to kill Caesar before he becomes king so that he is not this poisonous snake. Okay, so Lucius comes back, and over on this page, Brutus continues to talk. Lucius gives Brutus all of those letters that Cassius planted. And basically the gist of these letters, all of these parts that have quotation marks around them, is what the letters are saying. So they're saying, Brutus, thou sleepest awake, shall Rome stand under one man's awe, speak, strike, or dress. So all of these letters are kind of telling Brutus that they have to do something. They have to speak up against Caesar. And then Lucius comes back and tells Brutus that March is wasted 15 days. That means that it's March 15th, which is the day that the soothsayer warned Caesar about. And Brutus admits to us here that since Cassius first began to talk to him about overthrowing Caesar, he hasn't slept. So it's been on his mind a lot. Okay, and then we find out that the conspirators have arrived. There's lots of people with them. And then right when they enter into this courtyard or into this like outdoor area at Brutus's house, he tells them, he's like, because Lucius says here that they've come to his house with their hats plucked about their ears and half their faces like buried in their coats so that no one knows who they are. The problem with that Brutus sees is that it's nighttime. It's dark. No one knows. No one's going to be able to tell who they are anyway. And so Brutus says, if this is how you're acting in the nighttime, like how are you going to act during the daytime when people can see you? So he says, we can't act conspicuous. We can't act guilty. You have to hide these smiles or hide this conspiracy behind smiles and friendliness. Okay. And so one of the things that we have here, this is just Brutus getting to know more of the conspirators. Let's go to the next page. This is not really anything important. Okay, so Brutus and Cassius go off. They talk by themselves, and then Cassius comes back. This is one of the first things that Brutus shoots down that Cassius suggests. So Cassius comes back in line 119 and says, let us swear our resolution. Let us swear that we're going to carry out this conspiracy to kill Caesar. And Brutus says, no, we don't need to swear. Says, if the sad faces of our fellow men, the suffering of our own souls, and the corruption of the present time aren't enough to motivate us to do this, then let's just break it off and each of us go back to bed. Okay? Excuse me. He says, we don't need to swear. We're Romans. We have Roman blood. And if that's not enough to make us do what we need to do, then we shouldn't be doing it. That's what basically all of this is. Okay? Let's go to the next page. So then Cassius has the idea of adding a Cicero. Cicero is who we met in Act 1, Scene 3 when he was talking with Casca. And Casca's like, sure, let's add Cicero. Metellus is like, yeah, let's add Cicero. And then Brutus in line 156 says, no, we're not going to add Cicero. Says he will never join anything that someone else has started. And then Cassius is really quick to say, okay, then we're not going to add Cicero. So that's two things so far that we have seen Brutus shoot down. They're not going to swear an oath, and they're not going to add Cicero. We've got one more thing here. The next thing is that Cassius wants to add Mark Antony to who they're going to kill. So they know they want to kill Caesar. Cassius has the idea, well, let's kill Mark Antony, because if we let him live, he's so close with Caesar, he's just going to carry out whatever Caesar wanted. And so he says, let Antony and Caesar fall together. And Brutus says, no, that's our third thing. He says, our course will seem too bloody to cut the head off and then hack the limb. So kind of like that Caesar is the head and Antony is the limb. And then when he's talking about killing Caesar, Brutus says, let us be sacrificers, but not butchers. Okay, so there's a difference. When you go to butcher an animal, you dismember it, you tear it up, you're ready to like get in there and find the meat. When we're talking about sacrificing, this would have been very common in their day to make sacrifices to their mythical gods. Basically, when you sacrifice someone, you sacrifice an animal, not someone, you just kind of cut their throat and let them bleed out, and that's it, okay? So that's kind of what Brutus is hinting at. We don't need to completely chop Caesar up. We just need to sacrifice him. It says, let us carve him as a dish fit for the gods, not hew him as a carcass fit for hounds. Okay, so that's kind of, those are our three big things that he shoots down that Cassius suggests. Okay, And then Cassius here admits that he's just still afraid of Mark Antony because the deep-rooted love he has for Caesar. And Brutus is like, don't worry about him. He's not going to be that much of a problem. The clock strikes 3, so it's 3 in the morning, and they know that they have to part. And then Cassius is worried that Caesar may not come forth and go to the Capitol, which would make their plan to kill him a little bit harder. Cassius is worried that maybe all of the storms and all of the weather would keep him from going, that he would be like kind of superstitious. And Decius steps in and says, don't worry, I'll go and I'll flatter Caesar and I'll make it to where he comes to the Capitol. Okay, so the conspirators leave. They also suggest adding Caius Ligarius to their conspiracy, so they're going to do that, and then everyone leaves. Brutus is left on stage by himself. Okay, and then Portia comes out. So the main part here we need to realize with Portia is that Portia is very, very worried about Brutus. She wants to know why he's been, like, she knows that he's not mentally 100% okay, and she wants to know why. In 250, she says, you stared upon me with ungentle looks. I urged you further, then you scratched your head and too impatiently stamped with your foot. So she knows that he's not okay. And so then on this next page, he says, I am not well in health. So he's lying to her. And she's like, well, you're a smart guy. And if you were sick, you would figure out how to get better. And then he's like, well, I'm trying to, Portia. I'm trying to figure out how to get better, and tells her to go back to bed. And she's like, no, if you were sick, you wouldn't be out here in the middle of the night when you could get more sick, when it's cold and there's bad air. They kind of believe that at nighttime, like, bad air came out. So if he was sick, he wouldn't be out with all this bad air. So she kneels and she's like, please tell me what's going on. She knows that people have come to their house, kind of hiding in the darkness. She says, within the bond of marriage, tell me what's going on. Don't keep any secrets from me. And then on this page, she compares herself. Basically, if you're not going to tell me that I'm no better than just your harlot, than just some girl who comes to you to sleep with you, and that's all I am. And he says, no, you're my true and honorable wife, as dear to me as the ruddy drops that visit my sad heart. So basically, as dear to me as the own blood that's in my body. She basically says, I'm a woman of well repute, that I come from good genes. And then this is weird. She says in line 306, 307, 308 that she says, I have made strong proof of my constancy, giving myself a voluntary wound here in the thigh. So she literally has like cut herself in the leg to show that she can bear whatever it is that Brutus has to tell her, that she can deal with his secrets, which is not okay. So don't ever do that, ladies. But she's like, how can I bear this and not bear your secrets? And he's like, oh my gosh, you like make me worthy of this noble wife, but also like you're crazy. He says, go back to bed. I'll come in and tell you what's going on after I deal with this next person. And so then we have Caius Ligarius who comes in. He's not 100% on board with the conspiracy yet. He doesn't know what's going on, but Brutus is going to make him aware of what is going on. And basically what happens here at the end that we need to remember, what's important, is he says, I'll follow you to what I don't know, but I'm satisfied simply knowing that Brutus leads me. So he's satisfied just because Brutus is the one in charge of this conspiracy, or the one who seems to be in charge at this point, even though Cassius has been in charge so far. Okay, so that is pretty much the discussion of what happens in Act 2, Scene 1. I am going to stop the video and then start a new video for the main idea chart in your unit notebook. So get those open and we will pick up there.